Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving straight into the illusion of product discovery. We're going to break down its anatomy, look at the core practices, and figure out exactly why your team might be stuck in a rut. Let's start off with a pretty hard truth from our source material. Almost every product team out there claims they are doing discovery, right? It's kind of become the ultimate industry buzzword. But here's the thing. There is a massive divide between the teams that just say they do it and the teams that can actually point to which specific parts of the process they're really executing. Section 1, the 5 discovery practices. To really understand this gap, we need to look at what discovery actually is by breaking it down into 5 distinct practices. Now, it's easy to look at this as just a checklist. Customer interviews, insights management, product metrics, experiment design, and demos. But the shape here is absolutely crucial. These 5 actually form a continuous cycle. They belong to each other. Interviews feed your insights. Those insights shape the metrics you track. Metrics point to the experiments worth running, and those experiments feed the demos that loop right back into your next round of interviews. Moving to section 2, where the loop breaks. Because this whole thing operates as a loop rather than a straight line, it's highly vulnerable to breaking down. It's like the old saying goes, a cycle breaks at its weakest link. Just being in motion doesn't equal actual progress if one single part of your cycle is fundamentally broken. So the loop breaks at interviews when only one person does all the talking and just passes their notes to everyone else. This leaves the engineers with these sterile, third-hand summaries instead of the rich context they actually need. You know what's happening when your engineers start describing customers in the third person, secondhand, using only the product manager's words. It breaks at insights management when research essentially goes to die in an unopened folder. The painfully obvious symptom here is a team rerunning research they already did, or re-answering a question a colleague solved 18 months ago just because that employee left. And no, that knowledge cannot just be recreated by reading a wiki. Next up, metrics. You've probably heard the old joke about the guy who loses his keys in the park, but searches for them under the street lamp just because the light is better. Well, dashboards full of easy-to-grab available numbers are exactly that joke, playing out quarterly. The loop totally breaks here because teams track what's easy to measure rather than a small set of measures that match where the product actually is. Or they go the other way and track way too many things. Spoiler alert, tracking everything produces the exact same result as tracking nothing. When we get to experiment design, we see the most common and honestly, the least visible break. This happens when a team gets a disappointing number back. Instead of triggering a response they agreed upon before they even had the result, they just sit around and argue with the data. They're genuinely running experiments, sure, but they just aren't letting those experiments decide anything. And finally, demos. Teams skip customer and stakeholder demos more than any of the other 4 practices. They break the loop by turning what should be a working software session into a completely pointless slide performance where nobody leaves having learned a single thing. All of this creates a massive downstream domino effect. Just one broken practice degrades absolutely everything that follows it. If your interviews stop, your insights repository sits empty. That leads to metrics built on stale assumptions, which points to experiments that eventually end in demos for work nobody even asked for. It keeps the team super busy with emotion that looks like discovery, but absolutely is not. Section 3, finding your weakest link. Knowing all of this, the really useful question isn't whether you do discovery at all, but rather how to fix your broken system. The honest way to figure this out is to deliberately score your team on all 5 practices based on what you actually do, not what your shiny process document says. Find the lowest score and start there. Don't start with a practice that feels the most urgent and definitely not the one you're already good at and enjoy. And hey, if there's a tie at the bottom, always pick the earlier practice in the cycle. Fixing a downstream practice first is just moving the queue. I want to leave you with this uncomfortable but totally necessary question to ask yourself and your team today. Which of your 5 practices is the weakest right now? Think about it, because that weakest link is the exact thing holding the other 4 back. Go find it and fix your loop.